Hello and welcome to our Nearpod Meet Microsoft session. In the chat, I am adding the link where you can join the lesson. So go ahead and take the next minute or two to join the lesson. You can also see the code on the screen that I'm sharing, so you can use the code to join or you could use the link that's in the chat. Okay, so we still have a minute and we'll hold off until we can get you on our lesson, and then we'll get started. I'm excited to be with you today to talk about Nearpod and using it with Microsoft. All right, we are getting there. There are about 4 of you who are on the lesson already, which is excellent. And if you need just some steps on how to join, you're going to open up another window or a second tab, or on another device, you're going to open up Nearpod. You're going to go to join.nearpod.com and you're going to type in the code that you see on the screen, which is right here. I'll also add that code to the chat so that you can have it there as well to reference. Or you can use the link that I've added to the chat and it'll take you directly there, and it's going to ask that you add your name, and then at the bottom right you'll click join session, and you're just going to move between the lesson and the webinar so that you can see both screens and participate in the activities. All right, so we're getting there. We're about halfway there with the attendees who are present in the session joining the lesson. So if you check the chat, you'll see in the chat there's a link and a code to join the lesson. And the code, if you're looking at my screen in the top left-hand side, the code is there as well that you can reference at any point if you need to get into the webinar. So don't forget that you can take notes and get a copy of all the resources in today's presentation by clicking your Notes tab, which is on your right-hand side, toward your top right-hand side. You'll click on the Notes icon and then choose the option that you want to use for your notes to get to you. Do you want it to come to you via email? You'll put your email. Do you want the notes to come to you via your Drive option? And you select whichever Drive option it is that you use. And so you can get a copy of the resources from today's notes. And after the webinar, you are going to receive a certificate, a video recording, and additional resources after the webinar today. Just a few technical things here. Check your audio, make sure that it's connected to your computer audio. You can also exit full screen view. That way you can navigate easily between the lesson and the webinar. And don't forget, you can post your questions in the chat box. And that's where you'll see the link to the webinar, to the lesson, sorry. And that's where you'll also see the code. So just keep these few technical housekeeping things in mind. And of course, here is our support information page, and feel free to email support, call the Nearpod number, visit the resources, nearpod.com/resources, and you'll be able to get the support you need there. And here is the Nearpod team, and they thank you all for being part of this webinar and being willing to learn all about Nearpod and Microsoft. So let's see. All right, continue to keep joining the lesson so that we can get that participation going. Here's the code again. I'm going to drop the link in the chat one more time because I see the participant list is growing, and that's excellent. So we're going to continue on to our next slide here. And good day, everyone, from wherever you're joining us. My name is Michelle Singh, and I am in Miami, Florida, USA. And thank you for joining us today to learn about Nearpod and Microsoft. I love these two applications, these two platforms, and I love that they work well together. And I'm going to be sharing some tips and tricks with you today of the ways that I have used Nearpod and Microsoft together in my educational setting. Feel free to follow me on social media at SingNBCT on the various social media platforms. Again, just a reminder, you have your notes feature, so grab your copies of the resources that's being shared in this presentation by activating the notes feature. And remember to choose your option where you want the notes to go, whether it's your email, Google Drive, or OneDrive. Okay, so as you're joining, let's hear a little bit about your experience and your knowledge with Nearpod and Microsoft. So go ahead and on your screen, you are going to see a poll, and go ahead and respond to that poll so we can get a little bit of information about your experience with Nearpod and Microsoft. So we'll pause here to give you time to respond to the poll. Tell me what you can do with Microsoft and Nearpod, and check all that apply. You can select more than one answer. Okay, so what can you do? Oh, well, it's only allowing you to select one answer. So what can you do the best? The settings have to be adjusted for that question. So let's see, go ahead and respond. And I'm checking the responses on my end here from my teacher view in the live lesson where I can see those results right away. I'm gonna hide the names so that I don't put you all on the spot here, but I can certainly see that the majority of you so far, oh, you are using Nearpod with Microsoft Teams to connect and communicate with your students. Excellent, excellent. That is definitely a popular route because we're using Microsoft Teams so much now during online learning. And let's see, our next results, let's see, letter A. Uploading your personal files from OneDrive. Yes, totally a great way to add your resources to Nearpod and sprinkle the Nearpod magic on your own resources to really build those interactive presentations. What's next? Let's see, letter D. Some of you have included forms in your Nearpod learning experience, whether you're collecting data or maybe even checking for understanding. You could definitely use Microsoft Forms. So we have a variety of knowledge here with how you all have used Nearpod at Microsoft. And let's see, we have letter C, Immersive Reader. Only 5.6% of you have used the Immersive Reader. Well, I am going to shock you with some things today because the Immersive Reader is such a powerful tool, and it really is available for your students to use in all the Nearpod lessons that you create, as long as you follow certain guidelines in terms of how the Immersive Reader works within Nearpod, which we'll talk about. And let's see, last but not least, some of you have embedded a Sway in your presentations. And we'll talk about Sway and how Nearpod works well with Sway, not only for you to give the students information, but I'll even share a tip with you on how you can offer opportunities for students to create with Sway in your lessons. So thank you to those of you who participated in this poll. I'm going to share out the results of the poll with you right now so you can see it on your end. And as you can tell, the majority of you use Nearpod with Microsoft Teams, whether you're adding your lessons right there in the channel in Teams. That's how the majority of you are using it. I'm going to go ahead and unshare this poll right now and go on to the next slide. So coming up, we are going to learn all about how Nearpod shakes hands how it works with OneDrive, Sway, Flipgrid, Forms, the Immersive Reader, and of course, what you all have, the majority of you have experience with, which is Microsoft Teams. So let's start with this collaborate board here. And I want you to tell me, why is it important to integrate digital tools into your learning environment, especially now? Why is it important to utilize tools like what Microsoft offers, and even a tool like Nearpod with your students, whether you're face-to-face with them, you're back face-to-face with them, you're in a hybrid environment, or you're in a completely virtual environment? So take a minute, go to your lesson, and tell me, even if you just give me 1 or 2 words, that's excellent. I love the the 2 responses that are already here on the poll: active learning and motivation. Tell me why it is important to integrate these digital tools. So I'm going to pause here for a minute to give you some time to think and respond. I'm loving what I'm seeing. Interactivity, lots of interactivity. I even see a nice picture with engagement. Thanks for adding that picture. Monitoring student progress and reviewing learning, absolutely. Being able to broaden not just our experience and knowledge, but our students' experiences and knowledge, and we can use these interactive tools to do that. Think about like our virtual field trips, right? Within Nearpod that you could take students on. That is definitely broadening their experience. All right, having a primary method of delivering your lessons just to establish that consistency with your students, that's important. Okay, making real world connections, I love it. Differentiation and hands-on experiences are so important for our students now. Yes, and of course, making sure our students are engaged and not just complying, bringing that joy in learning, especially in the time that we're in, where the students may not be able to see each other physically, right? We want to give them that joy in their learning experience. And what great way to do that than with using tools like Nearpod and Microsoft. So thank you all for your excellent responses on this collaborate board. I am going to drop the link for the collaborate board in the chat for you so you can reference it, because these were excellent responses that you all provide. So if you want to go back and look at these responses later and share it with your school and colleagues, feel free. I just added the link to the chat. Now let's talk about how Nearpod and Microsoft go together and work well together. We're going to look at how they provide best practices for the things that you just told me about, right? Engagement, collaboration, organization, communication, and even feedback. And it really does deepen and enhance students' learning experiences when you use these 2 tools together. And we're going to explore that fully today. Nearpod and Microsoft integrates with quite a few things, and we're going to tackle them today. You'll see how there is that Office 365 single sign-on that you can adjust in your lesson settings that will require that students use their login, their Office 365 email to log into lessons, and also you can use it to log into your Nearpod account. We'll look at OneDrive and Nearpod's connection to OneDrive, how you can add your PowerPoint presentations, how you can use Microsoft Sway, how you can use Teams, which most of you already are using Teams, that wonderful immersive reader that I've been talking about, and of course, web-based Microsoft tools, other tools like, give you a hint of what's coming up, Onenote, the wonderful Onenote. So those are some of the things that we're going to tackle today in our training to give you some ideas. And don't forget to throw your questions in the chat if you have any questions, and we'll have other opportunities within the presentation for you to post as well. Okay, so here, let's see what you know. We have a poll, and I want to give you 1 minute and 30 seconds to guess or to make as many matches as possible. So I'm going to pause here, give you time, and then we're going to come back together to see who made the most matches. This is obviously testing your knowledge on the Microsoft tools. Okay, how many, and where are we at? We have a few people who's done, and we have a few people who are still going. All right, so we are going to take a look really quick at these tools. So OneDrive is your cloud-based storage system. Immersive Reader is your accessibility tool. Sway is your presentation tool. Teams is like your learning, it's like an LMS, right? But not officially. It's your space for communication and collaboration. Forms is your option to collect data and to even assess. And of course, Flipgrid itself is just that wonderful video platform, a social learning platform that your students can use to not only record video responses, but now audio responses with some of the updates to Flipgrid. And even on the Flipgrid platform itself, there are lots of opportunities for virtual field trips now that Flipgrid and Skype in the Classroom has made that integration and marriage, and they are basically merged together. So thank you all for participating on that activity. So we're going to move forward really quickly now in our lesson. So our first option here is you logging into your Nearpod account. If you've not already done so, open up another tab in your browser, go to nearpod.com, and if it's your first time, you're going to click teacher login, use your district email or your single sign-on option. And you can see here that you can use, if you use Microsoft, you can use your Office 365 credentials to get right in. If you don't have an account, you could sign up for free. If you already have an account, guess what? Just log right in and it will be really quick. So go ahead in another tab if you've not already done so. You can go ahead and log into your account, because what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about some of these options of integration with Microsoft and Nearpod. But what I want you to do is try them on your end. So you'll learn it and then you'll try it. So it's important that you log into your Nearpod account in another tab as well. So we'll pause here for a minute to give you some time to log into your Nearpod account. And at any point, if you have questions, throw them in the chat. All right, let's see. Hopefully you're logged in and we're back together here on the webinar. So just be aware that we're gonna be switching between tabs. So I want you to be able to see the webinar screen, but I also want you to be able to participate in the lesson and go to your Nearpod account when it's time to try out some of these things. So you might be switching between 3 different tabs in your browser, and you can see that I have tabs opened up here as well. It's just a matter of me switching between the tabs that I'm using at that particular moment. So just kind of keep that in mind. So right now, we're going to talk about Nearpod and OneDrive. Again, OneDrive is your cloud storage. This is where you have your files saved. This is where if you have your PowerPoint presentations, you can bring them right into Nearpod. If you have PDF files or PNG files or even JPEGs, you can bring those easily into your Nearpod account. when you are creating your lessons with students. So here we're going to learn just how you can do that. Okay, so on your screen here, you are going to see this hyperdoc, and when you click on each of these icons here, thumbnails, it'll take you to a file. So this one, when it opens up here, it actually walks you through the steps on how you can access your personal files from OneDrive. So when you're in a lesson, you're going to see when you're in a lesson within Nearpod. So that means when you go into your Nearpod account, okay, you're going to be in a lesson. You're going to hit create. So you're in your Nearpod account, and you're going to choose the create option. When you hit that create option, you're going to select lesson. And once you're in that lesson view, you can start to bring in your file. So you see here toward the bottom where I'm hovering, where it says drag and drop any files, you can click upload, and you see PPT, PNG, PDF. That's where you'll be able to bring in those files. So when you select upload, you're going to see this window pop up, and from here you can choose the OneDrive option, and you'll be able to connect with your OneDrive. Of course, you have to sign in. Okay, so sign in with your credentials and your password. And then you'll be able to bring in your PowerPoint presentations right into Nearpod. You're going to select the PowerPoint and select open and bring those presentations right into Nearpod. So from here, upload, you select your OneDrive option, bring that presentation in, and then I'm just going to show you how that will look. Okay, so you bring that PowerPoint in and it loads right into your Nearpod lesson. So it's loading, it's loading, it's loading. It's loading, it's loading, it's loading. There we go. My file is processing, and that PowerPoint is coming through beautifully in Nearpod. And then what I do next is, guess what? Once my content appears here from my PowerPoint, my files are finished processing, then I can add that engagement and interactivity. So look at my PowerPoint. This is my solar system PowerPoint. I have all the content from that PowerPoint right here, but I need it to be interactive. So now is where I will go ahead and add all of these Nearpod content and activity features. I can add, guess what? I can add a virtual field trip if I want to take my students to Mars and see the Mars rover. I can add a 3D image of the Earth because it's about the solar system. I can even add a video, an interactive video, and then I can check for understanding and do some fun stuff like time to climb or even a Flipgrid. And so I can begin to add all of those different Nearpod features to enhance my PowerPoint and make it more engaging and interactive for my students. So I'm gonna play this quick video for you again so you get that nice walkthrough, and then you're gonna try it on your end. It's always great to do the live view. I like to do it live so you can see it happen in real time, but the video is great just to give you a second look so you could process it.
I can upload PowerPoint files to my Nearpod lesson easily. I just click upload files shown here. I can choose from destinations like my computer or OneDrive. I'm going to first show this with OneDrive. It will ask me to log into my OneDrive account the first time I do this. From there, it will allow me to access my PowerPoint that I have stored here. So I'm going to open it. It may take a moment depending on the size of the file. You can see here it's processing. And after a few moments, you'll see your slides load here as single slides. I can move those slides around. I can even convert those slides to draw out activities where students can annotate on top of them. I'll show you how to find these on your computer as well. So if I click Upload Files and choose my local computer, I can find that specific file. I can find that PowerPoint file here. Then I click Open, and we'll upload those slides in the same way. You can see those slides have uploaded here. And that's how you upload your PowerPoint files to your Nearpod lessons.
All right, quick and easy That's how you do it. So I would like for you to try it on your end right now. I would like for you to go ahead and go onto your screen, your tab that you have open where you're signed into your Nearpod account, and go ahead and try to upload a PowerPoint and add some interactivity, do some conversion, like convert some slides to slides and move some slides around. And as you're working, go ahead and post questions that you have here. If you need assistance, you could post them right here on the collaborate board in the lesson. So this would obviously require that you come to the lesson to post here and go out, click on the lesson outside of the account that you're logged into. Or if you feel like you want to just use the chat in the in the webinar, you can do that as well. But we'll pause here for about 5 minutes to give you some time to practice, 3 to 5 minutes to give you some time to practice. And if you've done it, just tell me that you've done it. You're good to go. And you added the PowerPoint about the solar system. Just let me know here what you've done. Thank you for putting that you understand. I love that picture. Awesome. Okay, so I am trying to understand this first question here. Can you connect? I don't understand this question. So if you want to repost, I'm going to remove this question and allow you to repost, or you can add to the chat. Yeah, it works. Isn't it wonderful when technology works? I like that. Is everything clear picture? All right, so the question is, can we connect our Nearpod with Slides Go? That's not an application that is a direct integration with Nearpod, like how Nearpod works with Microsoft or even Google Slides. But if Slides Go, I'm not familiar with that platform, but if Slides Go provides URL links, you can integrate the URL as web content. So if you have a presentation on Slides Go and you have a URL for it, you can add it into Nearpod as web content, okay? Can you upload a PowerPoint slide with audio embedded? No, the answer to that question is no. When you upload your PowerPoint into Nearpod, you're only getting basically a screenshot of the content on the slides. If you want audio to be in your Nearpod, you would have to add it using the audio option. There's an audio option that you can use. Okay. Oh, okay. Someone needs admin approval from your college to link Nearpod and OneDrive. So maybe complete a ticket, like a service ticket, to kind of let them know that you've requested permissioning so they can, see that you're trying to use both applications. I love that PowerPoint will spread out between slides. Yes, it does. That separation is great, and it allows you to put those Nearpod tasks wherever in between whatever slides you want it to go into. And it's very easy. Love how easy it is to make it interactive by adding the Nearpod features. Absolutely. That's where that interactivity comes in. If you have embedded links and things on the PowerPoint, it doesn't transfer over. However, when you utilize the Nearpod content features and activity features with your PowerPoint content, guess what? It makes an amazing presentation because you still can get that interactivity. Okay. So for the question where it's saying, do you need admin approval? You have to determine that based on what your particular school or college requires. So if you are signing in and it asks for admin approval, then you just have to click yes or whatever the prompt is for that. So it just depends on your setting for admin approval. All right. We're gonna get there. Some of you are excited to move on to our next task. Okay, wonderful comments and ideas that are here on this Collaborate board. Thank you all for that and for participating. Now, what's next is Microsoft Sway and Nearpod. So there is a direct integration into Nearpod with Sway, where you can just choose Sway as a content option. We're going to talk about that. And just as a reminder, remember, Sway is your presentation tool, but it's so much more than that, because it doesn't just allow you to build these wonderful, vivid presentations all in one platform and allow you to easily share it out with your students, but it's a great way to even add opportunities for collaboration and creativity with your students. So look how clear these images are, and you have images and text. And it you know, again, a great way for you to present content to your students in a different way, where they're not just looking at a slide, but they're flipping through a stack of photos with description. So a great way to present vocabulary to them and even give them a think, pair, share task to go along with it. So this is an example of a presentation in Sway that you could get right from that Nearpod integration, right? And we're going to talk about what that looks like in Nearpod right now. Okay, so we're going to take a look here and learn how we can embed Sway into a Nearpod lesson. So when you're in your Nearpod account, okay, and you're going into your Nearpod account, it's loading. I may have to just go live. You're going to be able to go ahead and add your own pre-made, your own sways, because within the Nearpod library, Sway is an option. So I'm going to actually show that to you right here. So if I go to add a slide under my content features, look at what's there. Sway is there. So that's that direct integration. So from here, guess what? I can choose from Sway presentations that have already been created by the Nearpod content team. So that's where that snake one came from, right? So you have your animals and you have all the themes and the categories here on the left-hand side. So these are ready made for you to use. You can also connect to your Sway account here, and it's going to request that you sign in, and you can bring in Sway presentations that you have made. And then look here, if you just want to create a new Sway, you could just create a new Sway right here from Nearpod. And when you choose this option, it's going to again ask that you log in, and it's going to take you into the Sway platform for you to create within the Sway platform. Okay, and so that's what you're seeing here on this screen. You're going to go into Sway, and you're going to be able to go into Sway here, select that option from your Office 365. You'll then come here where you can start building your presentation, adding your title slides, adding your content, adding your images, and all of that. I want you to take a look at this slide though, because this slide has that share option. This is when you're in Sway. And after you've created a Sway in Office 365, you can copy the URL link and share it to your Nearpod. So you're going to go to share, and you're going to choose the option where you want to copy that URL, and then you'll be able to share that into your Nearpod lesson. And you would do that using that web content option. So you're going to go to add slide, add content, and add web content. And that's another way that you can add that Sway presentation. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at this quick video here about adding a Sway, and then talk about it a little bit more and give you a chance to try it on your end.
Today, you'll learn how to create a Nearpod lesson. There are 2 ways to create a Nearpod lesson.
Wrong video. That's my fault. Sorry about that. Let's go back here. This is the video I was looking for here. This is the Sway one. Rewind. Here it is, using the Microsoft Sway integration with Nearpod. So here it is.
Nearpod has a brilliant integration with Microsoft Sway, a wonderful storytelling app that's part of the Office 365 collection. You'll see that there are some Sways ready to go that were curated by our content team. I'll show this first. You can access these by clicking Add a Slide, Add Content, and then choosing Sway from this menu. Once you do this, you'll see that there are many different sways to choose from that have to do with different topics. You can also choose from your library of sways if you are signed into your Office 365 account. You can see these are sways that I have created. You can also create a new sway from here. If I click Create New Sway, it will open up another tab where I will have the ability to create my own. The Sway app is a robust content creation tool, and your sways will be searchable in your library in Nearpod. This is an example of one that I've used in my Nearpod lesson. This sway contains some links to self-paced Nearpod lessons that students can click. This is one way you can differentiate within a live lesson, is to allow for students to choose from different links to student-paced lessons within a sway. Once you've chosen a sway you'd like to use, you can preview it here. You can see what it would look like, and you can see how interactive these can be. And then you can click Add Sway. Once you do this, it moves to the bottom of your Nearpod lesson, and then you just move it to where it needs to be. And that's how you add a Microsoft Sway to your Nearpod lessons.
All right, in just a few clicks, you can add a ready-made sway, or you can build your own, okay? And another thing to consider is you can definitely add a sway using, there's a link, this is just a little tidbit, like this is just a little tip from me because I've done this before, and you want to increase opportunities for creativity with your students. And when you, let's say your students are old enough to build together, you can use the edit link right here for the sway and add that into your Nearpod so that your students can build a sway in Nearpod, and you would add it using the web content option. And that way students can build and create right in the Nearpod platform. So now you are going to try this on your end. Go into your Nearpod account, click on the plus, the add slide option, go to your content and click on sway and just explore what's there. Look at a couple of them, choose one from the pre-made ones. If you want to go ahead and do that link to your Office 365 account, go ahead and do that. But I want you to take a minute or so, or 2 minutes to explore and let me know, give me your feedback here on the Collaborate board to let me know what you found and how it's working for you. And if you have questions, add them right here to the board. I'm watching the board. All right, I'm seeing lots of positivity on the Collaborate board and interesting pictures. Excellent. I love the pictures. All right, we'll pause for another, let's say another minute and a half. And if you need more time, let me know on the board. But I want you to be able to try it, test it out, try it, and just see how it works together. You are welcome. You've never used Sway? Definitely explore Sway. It's such a great presentation tool. And if you find that I've used Sway for newsletters for parents, I've used Sway in professional development sessions that I've had with other teachers, it's a great way to have that resource that with one link that you can share with people. And it really is a nice tool to use, and it integrates very well with Nearpod. I've created study guides for students where I would go back and add content throughout the year, because once you have that link with Sway, it never changes and you can continue to edit it and the link doesn't change. So it's a great way to build on lessons and activities for students. All right, so yeah, you can add more than one Sway to cover content. Absolutely. And you know, the Sway has the images and the sways, and the fact that you can add other multimedia like videos and you can embed right in the Sway, it makes it so much better because you can build a really robust presentation in Sway and add it right to Nearpod for students to have access to it in your Nearpod lesson. Okay, all right. Excellent, excellent. So you guys are getting some practice there and exploring things that you have not explored before. That makes my heart happy because it tells me that you are trying new things and you are successful at it. So we're gonna go ahead and move to our next topic now. So I'm gonna move to the next slide. And we're talking about Flipgrid. I can't tell you how much I love Flipgrid. I have been a Flipgrid fan since before Flipgrid became a Microsoft acquisition, or whatever, you know, when they acquired Flipgrid. And so you can easily integrate Flipgrid into Nearpod. Now you can create your Flipgrid topics and add them right into your Nearpod lesson. So what you're seeing on your screen right now is a Flipgrid say hello on Flipgrid topic. And if you want to record a response, you're going to see lots of other responses recorded from people who's participated in this session. Look at that, look at that. So take a risk, click record a response. If you've never used Flipgrid, it's super easy. Once you select record a response, it's going to open up the Flipgrid camera. Of course, it's going to ask for you to log in using your credentials. And then once you're logged in, you'll be able to record a hello. And so on your screen as a teacher, what you'll see is your actual Flipgrid topics, which will allow you to click on the ones that your students are seeing, so you can see their responses. But students will actually just see that response and be able to record right there. Okay, so Flipgrid's integration within Nearpod is super seamless, right? So let's say for this solar system PowerPoint, I want to add a Flipgrid, right? So I'm going to click add slide, and I'm going to go over to my activities, and I am going to select Flipgrid. And when I select Flipgrid, look how easy it is to add a Flipgrid. All that Nearpod requires is your topic URL from the browser and your join link from the topic. Now, what does that all mean? That all means that you actually have to go into your Flipgrid account, log in, and have a topic that you're adding to your Nearpod lesson. So I'm gonna actually show that to you right here. So I've gone to flipgrid.com and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna log in. I'm gonna use my educator login. Okay, so I'm logged into my account right here. So this is me up here in the top. That's me, that's my profile. And these are the topics that I have created for Flipgrid. I told you all I've been on this Flipgrid train for a long time. So if I want to include one of these Flipgrid topics into my Nearpod lesson, all I need to have is the URL, the topic URL from the browser, and the join link from the topic. So that basically means I go into the topic, right? Okay, so here's my topic, and I'm gonna get this link here this is my link from the browser. So I copy this link here from the browser. I'm gonna go into my Nearpod lesson here. So topic URL from the browser, I put that there. And then here it says join link for the topic. So my join link for the topic will appear here where it says share, and then this is my link. So I'm gonna copy this link here, this join link, and then that's what I'm gonna enter down here. Okay, so here's the admin topic URL, and this is the join link. And the reason why it asks for both is because on your end as the teacher, it's going to show you your view, your teacher account. On the student's end, it's just going to show them the actual topic for them to respond. So that's why it asks for the two different links. And then next, you click add, and bam, look at that. Your topic is now in your lesson. Here is your Flipgrid topic right now in your lesson. Oops, I wanted to preview just that slide so you could see it. So I'm going to hit preview here. Okay, well, it took me a little around. Let's try that again. Okay, so here's my Flipgrid preview. Maybe the preview is just being a little difficult today. So it should just show me what that lesson is going to look like for the students, because this is a student preview. So just give it a second. Okay. All right, still loading, but you get the idea. It's ultimately going to come out like this, where you have your topic and the students will be easily able to record their response, just like, look, it finally loaded. Look at that. So here, students will see this. They'll be able to record and post their response right there. All right, and that is what that Flipgrid integration looks like, right? And I know I just walked you through all of that. All right, so you do have to have a Flipgrid account. So I just want to make sure that you know that Flipgrid is an absolutely free platform. It is free for educators to sign up for an account. So you'll just go on the site, you'll create your educator login. You can use your Office 365 to create your educator login. And then once you do that, okay, once you log in, create your account, you'll come to Flipgrid. And the reason I'm showing this to you live is because there's just been some massive updates to Flipgrid. You'll create your first topic. So this is going to be like your landing page, right? And you could create your topic. When you click add topic, it's just going to add. You're going to add information like what's your title. Your topic is your task, whatever your activity is. If you want students to answer a question about a book they're reading, if you want them to reflect on something, so you'll add your title and your prompt. You can allow the permissioning to be private, so that students are required to sign in either using a username or student email. You can moderate topics. You can set the timer for the recordings to be anywhere from like 15 seconds, I think, to like 10 minutes. So you can definitely adjust these things here when you're creating your topics. And once your topics have been created, you'll see them in your topic list, and you'll then be easily able to click on them to see what they look like. But if you want to just click this share button here, that's where you'll gather that link, right, that you can add to Nearpod. And don't forget that you'll need the URL, so you'll actually need to click into it to see, to get that URL, and also get the topic link, the join link that you can add. And so you're able to easily see all of the student responses, and you can do certain things to the responses. You can move them, duplicate them, download them. You can even give them a grade, like you can score the responses as well. Okay, and so that's just your little crash course into Flipgrid. And we just talked about how you're able to add your Flipgrid topics into Nearpod, add slide, add activity, add Flipgrid, go into Flipgrid, grab your links, add them in, and voila, you're good to go. You're ready to have a Flipgrid in your student accounts. So what I'd like for you to do is try it out. Go ahead and practice in your account. If you don't have a Flipgrid account, now would be a good time to just sign up for one for free. It's absolutely free. And just as a heads up, if you've ever used like Skype in the Classroom before, Skype in the Classroom provided opportunities for teachers to have guest speakers for free, virtual field trips for free. And that is now a part of the Flipgrid community. They have merged together. So you'll find that when you go to Flipgrid, you can go into the Discovery Library, which is the second option here in my toolbar. And guess what? You'll be able to see lots of topics that have been created by educators like you. You'll be able to see topics that have been created by partners. Lots of partners, just like Nearpod has partners. And if you want like a virtual field trip, for example, they have specific partners that have virtual field trips, like the Buffalo Bill Center, the veterans, there's certain veterans museums, lots of different options where zoos, Okay, look at all these. The Met, they all offer like virtual field trip experiences that your students can watch and respond to. California State Parks, the Zoo Night Keeper or the Night Zookeeper, these are all polar bears, these are all virtual experiences. And so I would just create that account, go ahead and create that account and explore what's here for you. There are lots of topics that are already created that you can choose from. Look at this, 33,000 topics that you can easily search by subject and audience and find what is there for you. Okay, so go ahead, try it, create your account. We'll pause here for about 3 minutes and post your questions, post your comments, tell me what you think about the integration and the opportunities that it could create for your students. And we'll pause here to give you a chance to try it out. Oh, that's excellent. You've never used it, but you signed up and it's absolutely free. Yay, awesome. You guys are making my day. I love it when you are willing and open to try new things for your students. I love it. Use Flipgrid at least twice a week, and I'm sure your students love it. Yes, definitely use it in Nearpod. Just give the students one place to go to get what they need. Okay, you're learning new things about Flipgrid. I see that. It's different from what you knew. Yeah, it's changed. It definitely has transformed since it started, and every year it continues to get better with the features that's added to the recording options, to the content that they have. So Flipgrid is constantly evolving to really benefit diverse learners. Okay. Flipgrid, what grades do I suggest? Everybody from pre-K to higher ed. I actually am an adjunct professor and I use Flipgrid with my college students. And I have seen Flipgrid used with young students where they're recording with their parents and they're responding to tasks that their teachers give them with the help of their parents. So it is absolutely applicable to any school grade, school age range. Someone has a helpful hint here. Students have to turn their camera off in Teams so they can record in Flipgrid during the meeting. Also keep everyone muted in your meeting, including yourself, so their videos don't have your meeting conversation. Excellent tip. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's such a great consideration, because yes, the computers will not be, have two applications using the camera at the same time, and that background noise can be very distracting. So it's great that you suggested to mute while giving the students some time to record their videos. So thank you so much for that suggestion. Okay. So remember, Flipgrid is free, but Nearpod is not, unless you're using the silver account. So yes, when you're seeing the benefits of Nearpod, you want to share that wealth with, the teachers and your district. All right, let's see. I have a question here. Suppose I added Flipgrid at slide 15, but now I wanted to shift to the 10th slide of Nearpod. How do you do that? Okay, so when I'm going into I'm trying to see where my Nearpod account is. So when I go into my Nearpod account, okay, I was in the preview. So I'm in edit mode, right? So let's say, my Flipgrid right now is at the end. and let's say I want to push it up to the middle of the presentation. So I have to be in the edit mode of the lesson. Like I can't, I have to be editing the lesson. All I do is I click on it, click on the slide, and I just drag it and move it and drop it where I want it to go. So when you click on the slide, it highlights it in orange, and then you could just drag and drop. So it's different from like if you're working in PowerPoint, it's different. It's just a matter of clicking to highlight and then dragging and dropping it. Okay, so hopefully that answers a question here that I had about how to move Flipgrid within Nearpod. All right, so let's see, I'm trying to see if I missed anything here on this board, and I think we are good to go. All right, let's go. Let's explore some more. Now, okay, now hold on to your chairs because now it's gonna get really good because remember from the poll, not many of you utilize the Immersive Reader that much, right? So the Immersive Reader really is a powerful tool, powerful tool. It's an accessibility tool. It's won awards. It's available across like the Microsoft platform, and it was so good that other platforms like Nearpod wanted the integration with Immersive Reader in their products. So now you'll see Immersive Reader not only in Nearpod, but it's in Vocabulary. Immersive Reader is part of other non-Nearpod related platforms like Wakelet and others, Bunsey and other platforms like that. So it has text-to-speech capabilities. It has visual options for size of the text. It has options for students who are English language learners or students who are language learners. And so we're going to explore what that looks like right now. Okay, so let's see here in Nearpod. This is very important. In Nearpod, what you and your students, because this is accessible to your students when they're looking at your lessons in Nearpod, whether it's a live lesson or student paced, what you are looking for and your students is this icon right up here. You are looking for that speaker with the book with the speaker icon. When you click it, it's going to put the text in Immersive Reader view. And in Immersive Reader view, there's lots of things that you can do. Again, it has that read aloud feature, right? So down here at the bottom, I can choose to read aloud.
What is the Immersive Reader? The Immersive Reader is a full screen reading experience that increases the readability of content.
Okay, so it reads aloud, but it also allows the students to change the speed of the reading. So it can go from as slow as a turtle.
Content.
A tortoise.
It implements proven techniques.
All right, to as fast as a hare.
Techniques to improve reading and writing for people, regardless of their age or ability.
And of course, it can go in between as well. So the students get to choose their speed, and they even get to choose their style of voice if they want a female versus a male.
Immersive Reader can improve reading comprehension and increase fluency for English language learners.
Okay, not just that. So you have your read aloud options down here at the bottom. Okay, and you also have some options up here in the top right. You have your text preferences. So this is the visual part here where the students can choose to increase their text size and decrease their text size. Okay, they can choose to increase or decrease the spacing. They can choose from 3 different font styles. So they can change the font, and then they can choose the contrast colors in the background here. They have visual impairments. This can be helpful for them. So they can use these options under the text preferences to suit their visual needs. In the middle here, these are your options for grammar. So it can turn syllables off and on. It can also identify different parts of speech, nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, and you can see that they're all identified by the different color schemes. You or the student can choose to adjust the color scheme. Whoever's using the Immersive Reader can make all the adjustments. And then when you click Show Labels right here, it shows the labels of the parts of speech in the sentence or the text that's on the screen. So you have those grammar options. Last but not least, you have your reading preferences. This allows for line focus, to be turned on. Line focus is great for students who are learning to read or students who are struggling readers, because it will bring the text into 1 line, 3 line, or 5 line. So if I have this line focus on and I'm a reader, I'm I'm learning how to read and I want to keep my focus on the text to help me, I can use the arrows to scroll up and down just to read the text that's highlighted, right? I can also use the read aloud feature with the line focus.
The Immersive Reader is a full-screen reading experience that increases the readability of content.
So you see how it brings the text into the line. Not last but not least, then not only do you have the line focus, but you also have picture dictionary. And so there are certain words within the text that has pictures associated with them. So like here, I believe I clicked on full. So it gave you like 2 different options for full. And then I will say that not all words have pictures, sorry. But I would say most common words do, right? So I'm kind of just clicking on like the common words and you can see those pictures appear there. And then now, this is one of my favorite parts of the Immersive Reader, and it's a translation feature. So there are about 64 languages that are presented on this list, okay? And from this list here, you could choose whatever language, whatever home language a student, remember, this is the students, they're choosing this. They can choose their home language, and then it can do the translations by word. So if I choose a word, I'll see the English, and then I'll see whatever language I chose. But it gets better, because guess what? Now they can translate the whole document. And so now everything has been translated to Italian because that's what I selected. And then I can choose to have it read.
Che cos'è il lettore immersivo? Il lettore immersivo è un'esperienza.
And so it will read out loud. So your Immersive Reader has lots of options, right? And within Nearpod, it works on with certain requirements. But just to kind of give you some additional information, Immersive Reader is a Microsoft tool, and it works across the Microsoft platform. And you're seeing the Immersive Reader periodic table of learning tools, because the features that I've talked to you about, they're available across like the Microsoft platform. So you'll see them work in different applications like OneNote or Word, like Word Online. The Immersive Reader works in Word Online. Okay, and it really does improve reading, writing. There's research to back that up with the tools and features, and that's what you're seeing on this printout here on your end. Okay. Now, I want you to try it, okay? You're gonna be able to use the Immersive Reader on the question that you see here. And I want you to also click on the reference media that's part of this question, because it's gonna go to the Nearpod help desk where it explains what the Immersive Reader is. There's a nice little video here that walks you through what I just walked you through. But what's important for you to know is where the Immersive Reader shows up in Nearpod. This part here is super important. The Immersive Reader will be available on open-ended questions. It will read the questions that you type out loud, not the student responses, but the questions on quizzes, on polls, on drawings, matching pairs. And here we go, Nearpod created slides and slides saved via the Nearpod Google add-in. And activities, multiple choice within Nearpod's interactive video. So it's really important that you know where the Immersive Reader will show up in a Nearpod lesson. It's not going to be on every slide. It is not going to be on every slide. If you put a PDF, it's not going to work. If you put a screenshot of text, it's not going to work. It works on a slide that has typed text. So it's important for you to know how it will show up for your students. So I'll pause here for you to play with the Nearpod Immersive Reader feature, and you'll see where you have the question here, but if you go to the far right, you can click on that Immersive Reader icon in the far right, and it will turn the text into the Immersive Reader, and you can play with the buttons that I just showed you. So we'll pause here, and when you're finished, you can go ahead and respond to the question, and so that I know that you've tried it, and then we'll go on. So we'll pause here for about 2 minutes to give you an opportunity to try it. All right, I see some questions here. Immersive Reader is not integrated with PowerPoint slides right now. So what I would advise is that you take the content from your PowerPoint slides, like literally copy it and paste it in a Nearpod slide if you want the Immersive Reader to work. And also keep in mind that it works both ways. Like if you had text that was in Spanish that you wanted to translate in English, it would translate vice versa as well. All right, thank you all for participating, and hopefully you got a chance to test it out. And if you have any questions, I basically walked you through these things already, so I'm not gonna play it again because I did this. I went through it live with you to show you how the Immersive Reader works, and I really wanted you to see it live, and I wanted you to also know that how it works within Nearpod. Like, it's really important that you let students know as well when they will see it and what they'll be able to do with it. Okay, so I'm going to go here to the collaborate board, and if you have any questions or any comments, feel free to add it to the board. And I'll pause here for just 1 minute because I know I already saw some questions in the on the open-ended question. But if you have additional questions about Nearpod and Immersive Reader, feel free to post them here. And if you've not used Immersive Reader before, tell me that this is, this is your first time seeing it. And whenever I do trainings and teachers see the Immersive Reader, they're blown away because of the support that it can provide to students. Okay. And so here's a question. This is a good question. Do you need to add this as an extension? Absolutely not. And I'm glad you asked that question because I'm going to actually show you what you need to do within your Nearpod account. So when you're in your Nearpod account, all you have to do is make sure that in your lesson settings, you allow for the students to use the Immersive Reader. So I'm in my Nearpod account now. I'm going to scroll all the way on this toolbar at the top to the right to my account profile, and I'm going to go into my lesson settings. And then here, one of my lesson settings says enable Immersive Reader. I just want to make sure that's turned on so my students can have the Immersive Reader in Nearpod whenever they complete their live lessons or student-paced lessons. So I just want to, in my lesson settings, so again here, lesson settings, make sure enable Immersive Reader is featured, that feature is turned on. Okay. Yeah, it's available. I see someone here said that they use it in Microsoft Forms. Absolutely, it's in the Microsoft platform and a lot more Microsoft applications than you will find like here in Nearpod. So if you put a form in Nearpod, or if you put a Google Doc, if you put a Microsoft Word document as web content in Nearpod, it will open up in those applications and students will be able to use it. And I'll show that to you. So, all right. Thank you all for sharing. Lots of features in Nearpod. Yes. So there's a lot of features in Nearpod, and it goes, with the different licensing. There is a free silver account with Nearpod that's absolutely free for teachers. So you just have to see what the free license, the silver account comes with. And you could definitely use the silver account. It just has certain things that it comes with that the other accounts you'll get more when it's paid. Okay. All right, so going on to the next slide, now we're going to talk about forms. Now, let's see how we can use Microsoft Forms and integrate that with Nearpod. So, you know, whether you're using Forms to take attendance, to actually give a quiz, or just to gather data, maybe your emergency contact information that you're gathering from students at the beginning of the year with their phone numbers, parents' names, and all of that, you can definitely integrate Forms within your Nearpod lessons. And what you do is you add the form in Nearpod, guess what? As web content. So you just add it in Nearpod as web content. So what you're gonna do is create your form, okay? So you're gonna have to go into your Office 365 account, all right? Select Forms, create your form, whether if you wanna, remember there are two options when you're creating in forms. You can create a form that is just like for data collection, like for surveys, or you could create a quiz, which would be graded, auto graded. So you select whichever one you want, you create it, okay? And then after you create it, you're gonna wanna grab the link. So select the link, hit send, select the link, and then you'll come into Nearpod, go to content, so add slide content, and as web content, you're gonna add that forms link into Nearpod, okay? And so you'll just add the URL, that same link you copy from the form, you just add it in Nearpod as web content and input that URL. So we'll take a look at this quick video here. It's super simple. You just have to create the form in Forms, bring it into Nearpod using the URL.
You can use Microsoft Forms in your Nearpod lesson. To show this, I can go through the Office 365 login screen and just create a new form here, or I can do this from OneDrive by choosing Forms for Excel. I'm going to click Forms here. I'm going to create a new form. Now that I've added my poll, I need to add it to my Nearpod lesson. To do this, I'm going to click Share, and then make sure that the share options allow anyone with the link to respond. I'm going to copy this link, and I'm going to paste this into my Nearpod lesson. In my Nearpod lesson, I can click Add Slide, Add Web Content, and then I just paste in the link from my Microsoft form. I click Save, and that form will be automatically embedded in my Nearpod lesson. To see what it'll look like, I can click Preview here, and it will show what it will look like for the students. You can see that the form shows up right there, and they can actually answer this. You can share the responses in an Excel sheet, as well as view them here. And that's how you add a Microsoft form to your Nearpod lesson.
All right, so create the form, add it to Nearpod as web content. And what happens is when it opens up into your Nearpod account, like for your students to, or in your Nearpod lesson for your students to be able to use it, when it opens up, they'll be able to use it within that forms view. So I'm actually going to show it to you really quick here so you can look at my screen. So I'm going to add this form that I have saved here. I'm going to click Save. And it's going to, remember, I added it as web content. And so it added it here to the bottom. If I needed to move it, I can certainly move it, but I'm going to hit Preview. And guess what? It's going to open up for the student. It's going to open up for them in another window, just like this. And guess what? Enable Immersive Reader. When they click the ellipses, they can enable Immersive Reader, and they'll be able to use the Immersive Reader within the forms itself because they're using it within the browser of form. So here is the form that the students will complete, and then they can use the Immersive Reader when you add it as web content. Okay, so I just wanted to show that to you so you can see how it works within Nearpod, because it's using the form in the web, and the web takes them into form online where the Immersive Reader exists for them in the online format of Microsoft Forms. So go ahead and try it on your end. Try it, go into your Office 365 account, just create a 1-question quiz, grab the link, put it in a Nearpod, try it, and let me know if you have any questions by typing them in the chat here. Well, not in the chat. You could type in the chat or you could type on the Collaborate board, whichever one, but I want you to try it out. All right, I see success in the chat, or not in the chat, but on the Collaborate board. I see a question here from the results. Form results will reflect in, okay, good question. So no, the form results are not gonna be a part of the Nearpod report. I'll explain why. Remember, you're adding the form as web content. Web content is a content feature. It's not an activity. Only activities show up in the Nearpod report. Content features don't show up. So you would actually have to go into the form in your Microsoft 365 account and view the result of the form in your Microsoft 365 account. Okay, so good question. All right, I'm seeing that you all have got it. All right, let's move forward. We still got a few things to talk about, and we land on this topic that you already know so much about, because the majority of you are using Teams and Nearpod, and you're using that integration. So I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir here because you've been doing this, but I want to say it for those who are not familiar. Within the Nearpod and Microsoft Teams integration works because you can add live or student-paced lessons directly to Teams with that integration. So this means when you are using, when you're in your Nearpod account and you are getting ready to assign your lessons or launch them as a student-paced lesson or live lesson, you're gonna see at the bottom, once you've launched it, a Microsoft Teams option, and that will allow you to bring that lesson into Microsoft Teams. Now, there's another way that you can also do that, and that way is by adding the Nearpod add-on within Teams itself. So you'll go into your Teams account and you'll go into your add-ons, okay? And then you'll add the Nearpod, and you're gonna be, it's gonna ask that you log in. It's gonna ask that you log into your Nearpod account, verify, and then you'll be able to find your lessons and search from your lessons while in the Teams platform, okay? So go into your apps, add Nearpod, and you'll be able to add Nearpod lessons right in a channel in Teams. So you can add it as the student-paced lesson. You could give it, give it a name, okay, and then save it, and it will add right to the channel, and then as a tab up here. And when the students click in the channel and they go to that tab at the top, it will require them to sign into the lesson, and they will be able to access the lesson there. So that integration is pretty smooth. You can add it directly, like when you launch the lesson in Nearpod by choosing this option, or if you're already in Teams, you could connect to the add-on and add it directly from Teams. So whichever way you choose to do it, you can do it from there, okay? So you add your lessons to Teams for students to access. So whether you want your student-paced lesson that you want students to access. But also remember that if you're using Teams as your video conferencing platform, you can share your Nearpod lessons with them and use that Nearpod integration with the video conferencing platform, just like what we're doing now, right? So you're connected to this webinar and you're also connected to the Nearpod. So while you're meeting with your students in Teams, in a Teams meeting, share the Nearpod as part of the channel for them to access it, or share it in the chat for them to access it, or put the code on the screen for them to sign in, and you'll be able to use Teams, video conferencing, and Nearpod together. And the students have that engagement while they're participating with you in your virtual meeting. Okay, so I am going to go on here to this collaborate board and see if you have any questions, or share your comments, share your experience with, since most of you, based on the poll, are using Teams integration with Nearpod. How is that working for you? How is that working for your students in your setting? Add that to the collaborate board so we can see what you've been up to. Yes, yes, for whole group lessons, absolutely. Because guess what? Your virtual meeting is going, your Nearpod is going, students are all engaged, they're participating, and you're able to track progress through that Nearpod live lesson. Yes. Someone says that they experience lag time with the videos and the present mode, therefore you have to do student pace. Well, why have you tried? And if you have, those issues, it could be due to connectivity, but just email support@nearpod.com to see if they have any tips. Support@nearpod.com. But what I want to suggest to you is, don't play the video on your view. I would suggest that you use the option where the students just hit play on their end to watch the video, and then make it an interactive video where it has the questions embedded. And so it will actually pause for students to respond to questions, and you'll be able to see how they're responding, and they'll be able to watch the video at their pace on their side in the live lesson, and you won't have to worry about sharing your screen. So try that. Yeah, so much that you could do with Nearpod, right? Especially with the web content option and bringing those integrations in. Absolutely. Now you can, yes, now you can add it to your team and have students get direct access to the lessons right from that channel, right from that Teams channel. So maybe create a channel just for Nearpod lessons where students will go and access all of their Nearpod lessons. Awesome. All right. Thank you all for your questions and your thoughts and ideas. I'm going to move on because we have 7 minutes left. And I definitely want to share these bonuses with you, because these are other Microsoft integrations, and these will work with the web content option, right? So let's talk about Office Online and Nearpod. So you have your in Office Online, you have access to Word Online, of course you have your PowerPoint online, you have Excel online, and you even have OneNote. And you can easily add them to Nearpod as web content. This is the important part, web content. You have to add it as web content. It's gonna require that you go into that particular file, okay? And you have to get the link. You can use your Office Online for collaborative experiences or just for information. And the link that you get has to be tied to whatever it is that you want students to do. So if you want students to collaborate, on, let's say, a Word document, because they're working together and to create something, then you have to allow editing. If you don't want students to collaborate and you just want to share information, you have to take away that check mark for editing before you generate the link. Okay, so you have to set up your link with whatever permissions you want before you add it to Nearpod. But just note that you will add it to Nearpod as web content, but you need to decide on the permissioning, I would say one, and I would say allow editing, or not allowing editing, depending on what you want for the students to do. Okay, so what can your students do? Well, guess what? If you wanted them to work on a class or small group PowerPoint and build a PowerPoint, they can do that right in Nearpod. So you add this PowerPoint with the link as web content to your Nearpod, and the students will be able to see it and they will be able to edit it, and then they can build. Just like if you go to your lesson right now and you select edit, you're gonna see that you can actually add to this PowerPoint. You give them directions, you assign them certain slides, assign certain students to certain slides and tell them what to do on that slide. And guess what? In the end, you have a wonderful class presentation on the topic, because each student knows what they have to do, what they have to create on the slide, and you assign them to work on that slide together in small groups. And so they're building their slide to contribute to the presentation. So you can bring PowerPoints in for students to create in that way by bringing in the editable link for that PowerPoint. So that's one way. Our next option is you can add Word Online documents, right? The beauty of adding that Word Online document is, yes, you can add it for students to be able to fill things out, right? So yes, you could add the edit link for students to then, find their place and add their information. But guess what? In Word Online, what is in Word Online that the students have access to? Under the Review tab, guess what? Is it under Review or View? I think it's under View, sorry. Immersive Reader. So students have access to the Immersive Reader. So while using that Word Online where you added it in Nearpod as a link, they can also use the Immersive Reader on this Word doc. So if you had a Word document with text that you just want them to review and use the Immersive Reader to read out loud, you can do that. If you want them to have a collaborative experience, set up the document so each student has a place to go where they are adding their information, so they're not all landing and typing in the same spot, because that can create a little bit of conflict where students are typing at the same time and it doesn't load properly. So you have that Word option, and of course OneNote, right? Add OneNote into your presentations, into your Nearpod. Not sure if you all have. So when you add the OneNote, you would add the OneNote link. Again, if you want students to be able to edit, you would add the edit. If you want them to be able to just view content, you would add just the content for them to view it. And let's say you wanted to give the students like an engaging experience. If you've not heard of OneNote Breakouts, you definitely should try a OneNote Breakout with your students. And I'm going to add in the chat here a link to a Microsoft page that talks about how you can do OneNote breakouts with your students. So let me grab this link. Not sure why it's not copying. And I'm going to put it in the chat for you. What is going on? Okay, so it looks like I'm going to have to share it out to you some way, because for some reason it's not allowing me to paste it in the chat. But here is what is a OneNote breakout? A OneNote breakout is an escape room that you create for your students to have like a full-fledged, like creative, collaborative experience that really allows them to use problem solving and critical thinking. So this is a link that I wanted to share with you, and I'm probably just going to share it to you right now via web content. Push it out to you with the add activities button, and that way you can just grab it and go. Because for some reason, I just don't know why it's not copying in the chat. I want you to, just think about adding these levels and these different integrations with Microsoft in your Nearpod activities to really give students a chance to utilize those 21st century skills. I did go ahead and add it to the chat, so you'll be able to see that link in the chat. Those 21st century skills, creativity, collaboration. There's so many possibilities that you can use Nearpod for, right? All right, so now we're at the end. I've given you some bonuses. We've talked a lot. I know that you all have shared wonderful ideas already with how you plan on using Nearpod. So feel free to drop on the Collaborate board if you have any other bright ideas. I I added the link to the chat for the breakouts. I'm going to add it here. I don't know if it'll post. So I just added it here on the Collaborate board, but I just added it to the chat. And I'm going to add it again to the chat. But thank you all so much for your attention, your ideas, your participation. You were a wonderful group. And just a few reminders, if you're not already connected to the Nearpod Certified Educator Program, you can do that. You can definitely view the Nearpod resources on nearpod.com/resources. It's a great page for you to view live webinars, sign up for live webinars, on-demand webinars that you can watch. And if you have any questions, email support@nearpod.com. Stay connected with everyone on social media. And again, shooting this email out again, support@nearpod.com if you have questions. And last but not least, this is a training. Well, I don't know if we do this, but I'm just going to add it to the chat. For today's training, if you would like to give me feedback on what you've received today, I would be happy to hear from you. And again, my name is Michelle. I loved sharing all of these wonderful Microsoft Nearpod tips with you today, and thank you for joining us this evening or this afternoon. And good luck with using Microsoft and Nearpod. Okay, take care, everyone.